Support for this podcast comes from Frito-Lay and the 2023 Snack Bracket Championship. The Frito-Lay Snack-It Challenge is underway, and fans are voting on their favorite snacks to crown champion. We're talking about prime-time matchups between the best 64 snacks in the land. Will Ruffles Ridges reign supreme? Can Doritos defend their dynasty? Or will Smart Food use their smarts for a surprise upset? Only you can decide. Get in on all the action for a chance to win up to $1,000 or a year's worth of snacks. Let your snacks be heard. Just go to fritolaysnacket.sbnation.com to vote and enter for a chance to win. No purchase necessary. Sweepstakes ends April 3rd, 2023. Void where prohibited. Year's worth of snacks awarded in the form of 52 coupons, each good for one bag of chips. See official rules at fritolaysnacket.sbnation.com.
The Black and Gold Banneret podcast is brought to you by the Unger Real Estate Group, powered by eXp Realty, proudly serving Orange, Seminole, and Lake counties. Call 407-790-9957 or visit WeSellOrlando.net. Welcome to the Black and Gold Banneret podcast, and this is a very special edition of our show. Jeff Sharon with you here, and boy, are we excited to deliver this to you. We have a very special announcement and an interview that we'll get to in a little bit, but this is a big moment for us here at Black and Gold Banneret, and especially for you fans, because this is something that we've been building up to very quietly for quite some time, and now we finally get the chance to announce it. All right, and here it is. We are announcing, we're recording this on Thursday, August the 9th, 2018, and we are announcing that as of today, Black and Gold Banneret is joining forces with SB Nation, and we will be SB Nation's new UCF team site. Many of you, I think, are familiar with SB Nation. They have over 300 different team and sports-related blogs, aside from their overarching umbrella. It's one of the largest sports content networks in the world. And there are 3 other schools in the American that have their own SB Nation sites. Obviously, a lot of you are probably familiar with the Daily Stampede, which covers USF. There's also the UConn blog and Down the Drive, which covers Cincinnati, and we will be the UCF site. Joining us in a little bit is going to be Matt Brown of SB Nation. He's the Associate Director of College Brands for SB Nation and a very accomplished writer in his own right. And he's going to give you some of the details behind this move, but we're really, really excited about it. We hope that you're excited about it, and it's going to mean that SB Nation is going to provide a much larger audience for the stuff that we've been doing and the stuff that we all, not just us at Black and Gold Banneret, but you, the fans, like to brag about with UCF. So that's never a bad thing. We are so excited for this to happen. Of course, a lot of things are going to change, specifically with the look of the site. We're going to have some more people on board over time. It's going to be a very busy football season for us. But the good thing is a lot of things are not going to change. I'm still going to be here. Eric Lopez is still going to be here. Brian Murphy's still going to be here. Derek Warden is still going to be taking photos for us. We're still going to be covering as many UCF sports as we can possibly get to. And the good part is we'll have a lot of help in our corner doing that as well. All right, so just a reminder, for those of you who may not do this already, subscribe to our podcast. It is available on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, SoundCloud, Stitcher, and TuneIn. Our podcast will stay the same. We'll have a lot more guests as the time goes by, coming over to the SB Nation, from the SB Nation network, which will be fun. You can also still follow us, as always, at blackandgoldbanneret.com. We're never going to leave that URL. At least you'll always find us there. You can also follow us on Twitter at UCF_Banneret. You can follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/blackandgoldbanneret as well. Don't forget to follow me, Jeff_Sharon. Eric is at Eric Lopez Elo. And Brian's at Spokes_Murphy. Derek is at _DS Warden. All right, so let's get to Matt Brown, the Associate Director of college brands for SB Nation. He and I spoke in this brief interview to kind of give you the lowdown about what's going to be changing with the site and how much better things are going to be now that we're a part of the SB Nation network. So without further ado, here he is, Matt Brown. And joining me now is my new boss. He is the Associate Director for College Brands for SB Nation. You can follow him on Twitter at MattSBN. MattSBN. Matt Brown joining me from SB Nation. What's up, Matt?
Hey, thanks for having me on here, and I'm so excited to finally be working with you in an official capacity. I feel like we've been trading emails for probably over a year at this point, and I'm glad that this has finally come to fruition.
Yeah, it's been a long time coming, and first of all, it's obviously a distinct pleasure to be working with you guys. It's been I know that a UCF site has been something that's been bandied about for a while on the SB Nation side. So if you could, I guess we'll start out with this. Just tell me kind of. There are 320 some odd sites now that SB Nation has under its umbrella for various teams, pro and college and sports. Just give us a lay of the land of of how this idea kind of came to be from your end on SB Nation's side.
Sure. So depending on when this podcast airs, we have somewhere between 93 and 95 college sites right now, right? They cover many of the largest brands within college football. Every power conference team has one. Some conferences have one. And we have a few very small, G5 specific sites. Some of those that we inherited through other acquisitions over the years, some of whom just kind of overperformed and we really needed to keep them around. But there's been a couple holes in that coverage. And I think that the biggest ones have typically been around the American Athletic Conference, where the football profile and the fan profile of a couple of those programs has really grown over the past couple of years, right? Like, in 2013, 2014, would it make sense to have a Memphis football site? Maybe not as much, because, they're losing to directional FCS teams and nobody goes to the Liberty Bowl. Now, maybe that calculus has changed a little bit, given that fan base has really been activated. And when, over the last few years, we've seen a couple of these really big schools, particularly the Floridas, grow substantially. And I was a little bit skeptical, and I kind of mentioned this on Twitter, I think, a couple of times over the last year and a half, about whether the timing was right. We have some examples of schools that have really big enrollments, but the size of their online fan base hasn't grown to match up with that. But I think after, winning a national title last year, and the feedback that we kept getting was just so large, we couldn't ignore it anymore. And that made us realize, okay, this is a fan base that's very dedicated. It's probably only going to continue to grow. We need to make sure we have a dedicated place for them to talk, to build that community. Let's figure out whether it makes the most sense for us to start a new site or acquire one that already exists. And I think it became clear that working with you is the best choice.
Well, I appreciate that, and you're right about the growth. I think that's the other thing that this is a good indicator of is, I started at UCF, my association with UCF, as a student in the fall of 2001, and at that time, UCF was a Division 1A independent. They played basically half FCS schools at that time, Division 1 AA, and half non-conference games with other Division 1A institutions. The following year, UCF joins the MAC. A few years later, UCF joins Conference USA. And the trajectory of the program has been on the rise. Every UCF fan will tell you that. But from the perspective as somebody who governs a number of these college sites, what's been the perception of UCF from the folks that you talk to outside of I guess the Orlando bubble that we're stuck in, about not just the growth of the program in general, but in particular last year in UCF's national title claim?
I think a lot of this is tied to Orlando itself, right? Part of the reason when we make these evaluations is we look at, what's the sidewalk fan potential, right? Like what does this team have to compete with in their market? And one of the really interesting things about UCF, and I'm sure that this has helped the growth of the football program and the university generally, is you have a big Sun Belt city that's growing and on a positive trajectory in a bunch of other ways that doesn't have nearly as much competition within that sports market. You know, there's other college football fans in Orlando. You have Florida fans, Florida State fans, and you know, maybe you're not going to convert every single one of those. But when you have a really huge school that's growing in many other ways and now has a really quality football program to match that, it's easy to look at this, and I'm sure every UCF fan will probably agree, there's a lot of potential here. I mean, it's already, you know, the fan base is already at X size, but even if you're not going undefeated and winning titles every year, it's not hard to see where the growth trajectory is. And then, you know, USF fans will say the same thing, but you know, your market share potential is probably a little bit higher with UCF. So I'm glad that the math has finally worked out. It takes a while, I think, for you know, these transformations to be totally complete. You know, ask a Houston fan about that, but there's a lot of reason to be excited, I think.
So from the UCF fans' perspective, and for somebody who's been, you know, from fans who've been following us since we started the site in 2015, once we sort of get this thing going with SB Nation, what's going to look and feel and sound any different to them?
So this is some of the stuff that I'm really excited about. I think that SB Nation has one of the best visual layouts for that, you know, compared to anybody else that hosts websites on the internet. You know, as a writer, it's really great because you're going to have access to a lot of technical tools that other places don't. But just as a fan, as a reader, you're going to find a commenting system that's going to look a little cleaner visually and is going to be easier to follow along than what you might find on a WordPress-hosted site or on a newspaper. You're going to find that this looks pretty good on your phone. It's going to be easy to link and follow along with other SB Nation communities, whether that's for you know, Orlando City, whether that's for the Magic, whether that's for other college football programs. And you know, one of the other fun things is that you're part of a huge network. You're part of a network that has some of the biggest, most unique voices within college football. And now your program, your voices are able to be amplified with that. So we're able to get integration with SB Nation personalities and get the work out there. So you're going to see stories on this website, I think, catch the national conversation a little bit easier than they might have been independently. So I'm hoping that this is something that doesn't just benefit us, benefit you guys, it benefits anybody that really wants to talk about UCF, because now your stories, your community, everything's going to get, you know, shouted out of a megaphone that's just a little bit bigger now.
Yeah, that's the part that I'm looking forward to the most, because, you know, we have, you know, guys like, you know, not just the stuff that I've been putting together for the site, but, you know, Brian and Eric and Derek have worked, you know, so hard, and I'm excited for those guys that they get that, like you said, that larger megaphone for their work. We have just a couple more things to talk about real quick with Matt Brown here from SB Nation. The other AAC schools, there are three of them that are right now on the network, down the drive with Cincinnati, the UConn blog covering the Huskies, and, of course, the Daily Stampede. We had Colin Sherwin on, actually, as a guest last year before the USF game, which was a blast. But the support, what sort of support have you gotten and encouragement have you gotten from them about, you know, another AAC school kind of joining into the fold?
Well, I can say the Daily Stampede guys are pretty excited about this. You know,
yeah, I bet they are.
Yeah, I think highly of Colin. I worked with him in a couple of different ways, including when he was over at 247. I've got a good relationship with some of the other bloggers there. And, like, what's fun to me about the Daily Stampede is that they do a fair amount of original work. You know, they break stories. They've been close to the school. And that's a football program that, you know, that doesn't have 30 beat writers, right? So, like, you're able to get a different perspective there. That's not necessarily true of every SB Nation site, and that's okay. The site managers, you know, not just for people within the American Athletic Conference, but also the folks that run Underdog Dynasty, which is sort of our catch-all for other, you know, G5 programs that don't have their own sites, have all been really supportive about this. We're going to have another site that's going to launch very soon, along with yours, that's going to cover the service academies. So we'll have a place for Navy,
right,
as well. And I think we'll continue to evaluate opportunities to potentially start other American sites. You know, as the conference continues to grow and as these fan bases continue to grow and mature, it may make sense a couple years down the road, or maybe everyone, has their own site, or most of them have their own site. We'll have to see. But everybody right now is very excited to be able to continue to work with you and to have another place to chat, especially UConn, because there's that rivalry could get a little bit heated.
Yeah, especially if they, what rivalry? I guess should be the right question, right? No,
dude, I just saw this yesterday. They're putting out shirts.
I know.
That have a picture of the Conflict Trophy, like on a milk carton.
It's on a milk carton, right? I saw that. That was great. Oh, that's fantastic. But I know one thing. We've been looking forward to this too, and my hope is also that eventually down the road it does lead to more growth for the American, because it's been a great league to cover for UC and a great league for UCF to be a part of, and there are a lot of fans out there that I think are seeing this sort of grow. I think there really is something to that Power 6 label that they've been talking about for quite some time. So, real quick, what sort of things for SB Nation in general are you looking forward to growing out in the next well, I guess year or so that I guess we'll be a part of, and that UCF fans will sort of be excited about, in addition to obviously us joining under the fold?
Sure. I can tell you that I have been very busy over the last year helping to build and secure new tools, both technological and commercial, to be able to make running these sites easier and a better experience for those who are part of it and those who are just fans. One of the other big focuses that we're pushing for SB Nation over the next year is finding ways to be able to move communities beyond just Twitter or beyond just our comment section, and move them into real life. So as there are ways to have blogger meetups or sponsored tailgates, or ways to bring you guys together or bring you together with the Daily Stampede people, or other meetups in Florida, those are things that we're trying to push. So over the next year, maybe I'll be able to come down to Orlando, or maybe my deputy Caroline Darney, who's a Virginia fan, might be able to come down, or we'll be able to sponsor some events. I'm interested in hearing the feedback from members of the community about some things that you would either like to see or want us to be a part of. I promise I read every single one of those emails, and I respond to almost all of them about suggestions, whether that's for starting a new site or a technical suggestion or a financial thing. I can't say yes to everything, but I'll give every single one a fair shake. Even the individual that wanted me to start like a Division III Wisconsin football blog. I promised I read it.
Well, I know one thing, that the UCF fans have been banging down your DMs quite a bit on Twitter since you kind of dropped the hint a few weeks ago about this thing going live. So I want to apologize for that.
No. I'm good with this. Like this is true. Ever since I tweeted this, I think 2 weeks ago, and we kind of hoped to make this official a little bit earlier than that. We had, a couple of corporate things we had to go get, lined up here first. But the fact that I've been getting a constant stream of DMs from people asking to contribute, asking where to find it, that just makes it easier for me to go to my boss and say, see, this was the right decision. There's definitely a lot of UCF fans who are really hungry for a site. They're hungry for a site with us. They're hungry to be able to continue that conversation. As long as those DMs aren't accompanied by slews of profanity, I think we're good.
Well, I'm really excited, and we're really excited to be a part of the SB Nation team. I know it's been a long time coming, and we're glad that it's finally happened. And I owe you tremendous thanks for your confidence and your belief that this project is going to work, and I think it's going to work out excellent for SB Nation and everybody involved. So Matt Brown from SB Nation, Matt SBN on Twitter. Real quick, Matt, which accounts should UCF fans follow in addition to ours at UCF_Banneret and yours at Matt SBN if they want the latest from SB Nation?
That is a great question. So, one thing that I would really encourage all you guys to follow is our Underdog Dynasty account. That is at Underdog Dynasty. They are going to write a lot about other American Athletic Conference programs. So if you're curious about Tulane, you're curious about SMU, you're going to find some stories there. Our national Twitter account, I think, is really good. That for all college football here, and I'm going to be a really great employee because I definitely remember that off the top of my head.
I think it's SB Nation CFB, if I'm not mistaken.
It is SB Nation CFB.
See, look at that. I'm already nailing it with SB Nation.
Man, gold star for you, man. They will share a ton of team blog content. That's also the repository for a lot of our national voices, people like me, Spencer Hall, Jason Kirk, Ryan Nanny. Folks I think that you're probably already aware of if you're probably not me, but the people I'm sure write funny things, through SB Nation. But another one, just a friend of mine, and I think probably a friend of UCF guys in general. There's Fear the Wave is a kind of independent Tulane blog site.
Yes.
They're not affiliated with SB Nation. If we end up starting a Tulane blog, I'll probably want to call them. But if you're not following at fearthewaveblog.com and you care about Tulane, I'd give them a follow. They're funny. They have a bunch of interesting, American athletic general stuff here as well.
Yeah, the guys from Fear the Wave are excellent, and I keep tabs on them on Twitter. Again, they're a lot of fun too. So, all right, SB Nation or Matt Brown from SB Nation, the Associate Director of College Brands. Matt, thanks again. I really appreciate your time, and obviously I'll be keeping in touch with you almost on a very regular basis as this rolls out. But again, thank you so much for your time, and here's to Black and Gold Banneret becoming a part of the SB Nation family.
You bet. I'm looking forward to it. It should be a great season.
All right. Huge thanks to Matt for coming on board once again. Matt SBN is his Twitter handle. Matt SBN. And I want to extend a personal thanks to Matt and a lot of the other folks at SB Nation who I've been working with over the period of time where we've sort of begun this transition for first of all, their faith in our site. They apparently thought we'd do a pretty good job, and have faith in us to do a good job on their behalf now. So I want to thank them for that. That's really humbling. There are a lot of other people that I want to thank too here on this podcast for this. I want to start by thanking a lot of the folks at UCF who've been so kind to us since we launched this site. And really have been so kind to me and all of us since, we all launched our careers, going back to when we were students. All the coaches and student athletes at UCF, past and present, far too many to name. I want to thank them personally for their just giving of their time. They do that for free, and they do it because they think that we do a good job, and I can't tell them how much I appreciate it. I personally have a number of coaches and student athletes that I want to thank, friends of mine that are still to this day. Todd Dagenet, UCF head volleyball coach. Renee Lourdes-Gillespie, the now former UCF softball coach. It still seems weird to say that. And so many others that have been so kind to us. Tiffany Roberts-Sahadak, Amanda Cromwell, currently and formerly, respectively, with UCF women's soccer. They've been actually really, really, really nice to us and encouraging to us throughout the entire time. Folks like not just Greg Lovelady, who's been great to us from UCF baseball, but also Terry Rooney, who was really nice to us as well from back in the day. All the folks on the football staff who we knew, the folks on the basketball staff, even going back to Kirk Spiraw and Donnie Jones and even now currently with Johnny Dawkins, they've been really nice to us. And the women's basketball staff now as well, going back to Joy Williams and Gail Striegler and now Coach Abe. They've been so kind to us as well. Becky Kramer with rowing, everybody. It's been remarkable. I want to thank all of the folks, especially with the athletic communication staff at UCF, again, past and present. Andy Seeley, Dan Frisella, Megan Herboth, Ian McDougall, Kelly Cartner, and some of the folks who are not at UCF anymore, like Bill Morrison, Bridget Gale, Brian Ormiston, Doug Richards. The list goes on and on. I know I'm forgetting a few, and I'm so sorry that I am. But they took us seriously. They helped us get interviews. They gave us the access that enables us to tell the stories that we want to tell and want to tell you. So we're severely indebted to them for their incredible help. Our friends in the UCF Sports Media orbit, who have been really accommodating to us, especially to me since we started this website and podcast. Brandon Helwig from UCFsports.com, who's helped all of us and is the best in the business. Andrew Fegley and Trace Trocco with the Nightline podcast, who were encouraging to me with the website, had me on as a guest, had Eric on as a guest, and Brian, and then when we started the podcast, they were like, "This is awesome, let's do this." And you know, we're going to support you. You guys support us, and that's great. That's the fun thing about working in the UCF Sports Media environment, is that, you know, we're all pretty supportive of each other, which is great. Ileana Limon, who has been fantastic and very kind to us, and has always been an encouraging voice to all of us. Jason Bede, Ryan Bass over at 247, Juan Toribio, who's been great. You know, they've been they're really good at their jobs, and if you're a UCF fan and you don't follow them, you really should. Some of the folks in the radio business who helped us out: Eric Casillas, Jerry O'Neill, Mike Tuck, Mark Daniels has been very kind to us as well, and some of our old mentors as well, including David Bauman, who was at Central Florida News 13, was a friend of, and was a Syracuse guy, and I'm a Syracuse guy, and he and I connected, and he and Eric produced his show, and he was so encouraging for us back in the 1080 days, and that was a lot of fun. And I also want to thank, I want to go back for a while and thank also the three people who I first interned for when I was when I was in the Orlando TV business: Jason Mader, Denise Cullen, and Matt O'Connor. They were great mentors to me, and I want to thank also Gary Cole and Lee Goldberg, who got me my start in radio and helped me get some experience leading, many years ago, leading up to this point. I want to send a very, very special thank you to Sam Unger, who has. A lot of you guys know him on social media and on the UCFsports.com message board. But Sam has sponsored our podcast since last football season. And without his support, it would have been really tough for us at some point to do some of the things that we've been able to do. So I want to thank Sam for jumping on board and just being a tremendous source of support, not just obviously through his sponsorship with the Unger Real Estate Group, which is fantastic, and he has helped us out tremendously on that end, but also just as a really good friend and someone who's shared a lot of our insights on all around the internet. And thank you, Sam. Thank you so much for everything you've done for us. I can't thank you enough. I really want to thank everyone in our audience, anyone who's clicked on an article and read it, anyone who's retweeted us, favorited a tweet, shared something on Facebook, read something, listened to this podcast. Every single one of you. Every little bit helps, man. The media business is a hard business these days, and we do it for you. Okay, we don't do it for ourselves. We do it for you because we think that there are stories that you think you'll find interesting and that you'll enjoy, and it'll brighten your day somehow. And I just want to thank everyone who bothered to click on some of the stuff that I've written and that the other guys have written, and just thank you. That's that means a lot. That you think that stuff that we did on our own time, basically, is good enough to spend some of your time on. So that's a big, that's a really humbling thing. And last but not least, I want to thank Eric Lopez, who's been a friend of mine for 15 years, who had no reason to join on this podcast, but we would spend time talking on the phone about UCF stuff, and we were like, why don't we just record this? That's how this podcast started. And so we did. He helped me when I was trying to get back into the active media business. And he helped me, do some work for 1080 initially as their UCF insider, and gave me the idea to sort of do this website as well. So a huge thanks to a great friend. I want to thank Brian Murphy, who, for some reason, when he moved back to Central Florida from California, ran into Eric and said, hey, you know anything that's going on? And Eric was like, well, Jeff has this website going on. And for no reason of his own time, completely of his own time, he was like, yeah, sure, I'll write for you. I'll do some stuff. We'll do podcasts together. And he's been an incredibly valuable asset to not just the site, but to, me and Eric, like in terms of, keeping us up to date on like what's been going on. And he's been an amazing friend too. And I can't thank Brian enough. And I want to thank Derek Warden too, who is a phenomenally talented photographer. You guys all know that. If you don't, go look at his stuff on our site because he's amazing. And again, a guy who gave of his own time to help us. All three of those guys have been so generous to me, and it's humbling, and they're all great friends, and I just want to thank them so much. I want to thank some of our future folks who will be joining us in the time coming as we make this transition over to the SB Nation side of things. You'll learn them. Many of you already know them, but if you don't, you will learn them, and they will have some excellent voices to provide out and they have some excellent voices that I know you're going to want to hear from. So we're going to be expanding our staff. We're going to be changing the look of the site quite a bit over the next several weeks, and it's going to be there are going to be some things about the transition that are going to be a little clunky, and that's okay. We just want you to bear with us as we do it because this is the first time we're doing this too. And but I promise you that by the end of it, you guys will really enjoy it, and hopefully we'll continue to give you the things that you want to know, that you want to hear, and that you enjoy. So if you haven't yet, like I said, follow us on Twitter, UCF_Banneret. I definitely recommend you follow SB Nation on Twitter as well as SB Nation CFB, that's their college football account, and SB Nation CBB, which is their college basketball account. They'll be helping us get content out as the seasons progress. And here we are, just a few weeks away from football season, and man, it's going to happen real quick. Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, SoundCloud, Stitcher, and TuneIn. And we'll be back with probably a couple more summer sessions here, and we'll be ramping up with football previews and here in a little bit. So for all of us here at Black and Gold Banneret, thank you so much. My name is Jeff Sharon. This has been the Black and Gold Banneret Podcast. We'll catch you next week. The Black and Gold Banneret Podcast is brought to you by the Unger Real Estate Group, powered by eXp Realty. Sam Unger and his team proudly serve Orange, Seminole, and Lake counties, specializing in buying, selling, and new construction. He's a very proud UCF graduate, class of 2006, and he's got a special deal going on right now for the 2018 football season. Night fans, if you work with Sam Unger as your realtor, he will rebate you up to $750 at closing. So if you're ready to buy a new home or sell your current home, upgrade or downsize, Sam and his team have you covered so you can find the right home at the right price in the right location. So give them a call right now at 407-790-9957. Again, that's 407-790-9957. Or visit on the web at WeSellOrlando.net. Again, that's WeSellOrlando.net. You can also reach them on Facebook at facebook.com/WeSellOrlando. Get in touch with the Unger Real Estate Group today and make finding your dream home a reality.
Today's episode is brought to you by Cars.com. With over 2 million vehicles and 50,000 more added every day, Cars.com will match you with the perfect car for you, your budget, your life, your style. And if you're ready to say goodbye to your current car, Cars.com will get you an instant offer to cash it in. Just start by entering your license plate and get matched with a local dealer who will write you the check. So whether you're looking to buy or sell, just go to Cars.com. It's magical.